Standing in the temple of thy glory, we think ourselves to stand in heaven, O Theotokos. In Great Lent, we often hear these very significant words in our churches, for they are read at every matin service. In truth, the church is an earthly heaven, our great righteous one and man of prayer, the ever-memorable pastor of Krondstadt, Father John, emphasizes, where God's altar is, where the awesome mysteries are celebrated, where the angels minister with men, where there is uninterrupted glorification of the Almighty, there heaven truly is, and the heaven of heavens. And in fact, our church, with the celebration therein of the divine services for us, who still live on earth, is, as it were, the portal, as it were the earthly preparation for that heavenly supper of the Lamb of God, of which all the Christians in the future life, who await us there in heaven, are called to be participants. Let us lift up our hearts, we hear, a bidding addressed to us by the celebrants of the divine service, and we, while standing in church, as it were actually breaking away from the earth for a season, with mind and heart offer ourselves up there on high, to heaven, where God dwells with the countless hosts of angels and saints. Everyone praying in church, if he is really praying, must consider himself as not being on earth, but in heaven. He must leave outside the walls of the church all his earthly thoughts, feelings, desires, and worries, all his usual worldly habits, manners, and ways. This is why it is wholly inappropriate and inadmissible for one, coming into church, to conduct himself as if he were with guests in a worldly gathering, to approach his acquaintances, wish them good health, and inquire or chat about this and that. Such behavior, even if it is allowed, not corrected, is a breach of reverence, an insult to the unearthly, heavenly sanctity of the church. In church, everything is different. There one's particular world is not earthly, but heavenly. There one's rules, customs, one's regulations and customs are prescribed by the church order. And he who loves the church, for whom it is the way to heavenly sanctity, such a one must know all this, and, if he does not know it, he must strive to learn it. But our entering the church and our standing therein must be with the very greatest reverence and with the fear of God. As you come in, you should cross yourself 3 times with the sign of the cross, doing this on feast days with bows from the waist, and on ordinary days with prostrations to the ground. Note: this custom, although admirable, is not kept in all Orthodox churches, and especially not in parish churches. To those already standing in church, bow very slightly to the right and to the left, and then take up the usual place where you stand and pray. Men must stand on the right side and women on the left, leaving a clear path between the royal gates and the exit. This is an ancient custom, hallowed by the centuries, which those break who do not observe it. All those who come into church, this earthly heaven, must, even in their outward appearance, imitate the celestial ones, with whom they are entering into converse there, and they should not by any means cause them or the other people praying there any visual offense. Their clothing should be modest and decent, and not in any way frivolous, modish, or loud. In particular, it is inadmissible for women to come into church bare arms and legs, in dresses which are extremely short and insufficiently covering, which only serve to suggest that they have unchaste dispositions, nor with their heads uncovered or with made-up faces and painted lips. To come into God's church so indecently attired is tantamount to swearing blasphemy against its heavenly sanctity. Is it acceptable to be late when you are invited to a dinner party with someone of high standing? All the more it is unacceptable and sinful to be late for the divine service in God's house, where the Lord and Master himself, our sovereign host and our leader, in whose hands are our life and our death, is awaiting us.